And if the BAS came back and said, everything's great, we still would say,
He still qualifies.
you know,
Which
right?
It wouldn't.
No,
I
But
know
I'm
the
saying,
face kind of it's not going to come back and say.
So it can be done. It's not going to adjust where we're at, is where I'm coming at this from. It's time consuming for him, and based on what we're seeing, he's not in a state where he wants to do testing. It would be Kristen that would do it, so she'd have to work with him over a period of time to get it done. And that's kind of how we could do it.
Do they have to decide right now?
Yeah, because this is a review of existing
Okay.
data. This is what this meeting is to determine.
So, with that, I mean, I think the reason I think gathering as much data as possible is important to have it in the present level and functioning is that's what's going to drive the goals and that's what's going to drive the services. And so, I mean, that's why I get really focused on we want really good, strong data that captures all the areas. I think what I do like about the BASC is it does look at internalizing behaviors versus externalizing behaviors. And, you know, that might be something that with Josh early on, he tended to be much more like an externalizer, right? Like he's going to go out towards people. But what we're seeing as he's getting older is that there's more internalization.
It's definitely balancing.
Yep. So I think some of that could be helpful to really look at what are the areas and start looking at that more. And moving forward, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be a trend moving on into as he gets older, I suppose, because he's an adolescent. But
And so
I don't know if you can get an evaluation. I guess that's the other piece. Like that stuff has to get approved by insurance. It costs money. I don't know what the feasibility is, Maggie.
I'm still trying to push for it, so we'll see.
Okay.
But I think I think that the testing would be nice because in that way
It's a BASC, so it's a questionnaire.
Yeah.
It's not a formal test. So that's going to be where some of the distinctions made here. That's an inventory, not a test.
Right,
So we can do it for the IEP part. It's not necessary for the eval part.
Yeah.
So I'm serious. I have no problem. I would prefer it through a psych because I think they have the capacity to actually break it down in a way that meets some of the things that I think they'll work on through the whole group, which would help us motivate towards what that whole thing is looking like. But we can do it in isolation as well.
I think it would be nice to have it from the part of the school and what you guys see, and then that way that would be an additional piece of information to include.
Yep, they would. So here, I'm not sure if I'm gonna. If we did one, I can't stress this enough. I'm not opposed to it because it's really easy. If we did it now and you got in and a therapist wanted to do it, they would disregard everything we did and they would want to do it again. So Josh could potentially do this twice, which means we are really skewing our data further with him because he doesn't like to do that. So I want a good report, right? Like I want that good data. I'm all about that. So I'm trying to, if you think you can get that eval, I don't want to skew those results, right? Because he's going to say, I already did this. However, if you feel like I'm not going to get it, then that's an inventory that honestly we could do anytime.
But what would be the difference though, whether somebody asks for it now or a few months down the line? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, it just depends on how long you've been working to get a neuropsychological evaluation, and then if you think that's going to be done anytime in the next few
I'm
months.
still in my meeting. You haven't waited the main office.
I mean, and BASC is
I'll
one
head over there.
thing. There's a number of things. So I'm not like super like. I mean, I think you could use other assessments and inventories to look at different things. Like whatever. There's a bunch. I'm not going to say them, but
typically Connors and BASC are the ones, and it depends on which year we're in that they want to use one or the other.
Yeah.
It's also age-related stuff, so that they break it down that way. Here's my proposal on this, because I do think that information would be beneficial. If we get towards May and you've heard nothing about an eval or anything like that, we'll run it. We'll run it then, we'll get that data then, and we'll put it in. We'll do a review revise of the IEP, we'll put it in then, so we have it. Okay, and if we think, based on the results we got, we need to do some adjustments with the IEP in terms of goals or whatever, we'll do it. That way we won't necessarily skew the results if you do get the neuropsych. And if you don't, we'll get them in there, and then there'll be a summer break, and he won't be so likely to say, but I just did that, which is what he'll say to us right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so that gives us that, we'll have it. It's our safety net in case something doesn't break for Journey.
Mm-hmm.
But if Journey does, they're going to do a much more detailed, and they're going to want their forms and their things. And I think that would give the better overall picture. So I'm hedging towards that and hoping that that happens.
Okay.
If it doesn't, we'll do it in May, so we have it.
Okay.
Does that seem reasonable?
Sure. And is there a way to get his reading levels?
Yep, she's got it. So
Yep.
that's
You can
part
do
of
that?
what we
I already
do
did it.
normally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Great.
Yep. So that's probably what maybe might be a little different because we are such a smaller environment. We do things over time and not just wait for the 3-year eval. So we get more data more frequently. So that's part of what, and I'm crossing fingers because here's the thing with this map. It shows us trends with him, and I like it because it gives us specific areas that stay either high or low. And if we can get him to take it seriously at the end of this year, we'll compare the end of this year with the end of last year and see what do we actually see as gaps. And then that will be, if we do a review revise, we can add that stuff in.
That's
too.
why with testing results, sometimes I'm like, some days he go in.
Oh no,
Exactly.
you know what he
He's
said to
literally
me?
be like,
Yep.
He's like, oh,
Yep.
the questions that were too short, I just skipped those.
He did, that's
It's
his
like, oh,
answer.
I'm like,
At least he's
Just-
honest about
I
it.
know.
I
He's
know, but
serious.
it's like
So that's and I agree, and that's part of my
Yes.
overall thing with him on testing. It just isn't always accurate.
No.
So maybe the next time that reading day that you do have, we add that into this.
I actually
data.
have a plan.
Okay, you do have a
I
plan.
have a
will
plan
do
for Matt.
Good.
I was thinking about that this
Okay.
morning, and it's
'Cause
like
it sounds like you want to see that data too.
yes,
Yes.
I do.
Yeah, wouldn't that be
Yes.
nice? I agree.
Uh-huh.
yeah. So I actually have a plan because we saw this happen with our OHI EBD kids. I'll be honest.
Yep.
We saw a very big trend on this one. And I think we've seen it now for 3 years, and we see it for winter. And we're one of the few middle schools that actually gather winter data. So, we know that there's dips and everything else, and we know why, and there's seasonal stuff, there's all sorts of stuff. But I came up with a plan this morning that I was like, oh, I can't wait to talk to you two about it, because it involves you two
Of course it does.
with me. And so,
That's awesome.
we've got a plan.
Great.
So I'm hoping we'll have spring data that is reflective, and the spring data from last year was reflective. It was. That's a pretty good snip of where he's at with things. I think he can be a little bit higher, but I think he tried really effectively on that one. So we'll compare, and we'll see where are the trends. And then that could be like if I'm writing a math goal, and I might. If I see areas where he's consistently not performing, I would want a math goal on that area. So we would open up the IEP to incorporate any of the data or add ours, and then incorporate the map for a map if one's needed. I suspect not. I suspect that he's got great skills across the board. But if we see something different, we'll do it.
All right. Do we have to meet again, or what's the plan?
We will.
Should, yes.
So
Should we
let's
set-
clarify, did we want
set-
OT testing?
Did you want the
Yes.
sensory
Yes.
profile?
Right?
Okay,
So we're gonna do the
so
sensory
we will
profile.
do, we will add that we're testing, we'll
I
add
already
in that
opened it up
sensory
and started
profile.
it.
And so that'll be part of the eval. Our next